Hello viewers, hope you all are good. Our today's video is a bit unusual. Yes, I mean it. Because in this video we'll visit the famous Moor Museum that is situated on 94 Moor Line in Mooretown, Ontario. There are a lot of things to see in this museum that are a treasure for the museum goers and lovers of history. Some of the important places to see in this museum include the Marine Room, the West Room, One Room School, Courtney Cabin, Blacksmith Shop, Trinity St. Clair Chapel, Harness Shop, Print Shop, and many more places. So if you love history, then keep watching the whole video to learn about the lifestyles and work practices of early settlers of Mooretown. Thank you for watching our channel. व्यूअर जनाब इस वक्त हम पहुंच गए मोर म्यूजियम में। आप मेरे पीछे साइन बोर्ड देख रहे हैं, वेलकम टू मोर म्यूजियम। आपको ऊपर वो एक ट्रेन की भी नज़र आ रही तस्वीर और बाकी चीज़ें। बेसिकली ये हिस्टोरिकल म्यूजियम है, तो जनाब अंदर चलते हैं और ज़रा एक्सप्लोर करते हैं कि इस म्यूजियम में क्या क्या चीज़ें हैं हमारे इंटरेस्ट की।
गर्मी बहुत ज़्यादा है आजकल।
सो लेट्स गो। This is the souvenir room where several types of souvenirs are displayed. Those visitors who love souvenirs can buy from here. My daughter also purchased one lantern and few other items. Now we are in the artifacts room where you can see several relics of the past. You can see photographs, clothes, crockery and several other items. Old cameras are also displayed here. This hand-painted crockery is so beautiful. This reminds me of same type of crockery set that was a gift from my mother-in-law to her daughter on our marriage. This room has a huge clock that appears to be a marvel. I'm sure it used to produce beautiful chimes to convey time. Look at this wall that has a plethora of hand sketches displayed in an articulated manner. These sketches tell us a lot about the history of Mooretown and its early settlers. Look at different types of dresses of 18th and 19th century. These are Vaseline glass artifacts. This piano and gramophone tells us that music was a favored entertainment in those days. The beautiful display of crockery is enticing us to enjoy a dinner here. This is the cobbler's machine for sewing shoes. You can see a display of shoes and other tools used by a cobbler in those days. The name Smith's Cobbler Shop can be seen. Now we are in the West Room displaying several military artifacts. You can see medals, photographs and uniforms of military personnel of the past. Look at this statue wearing uniform of a sergeant, a typical uniform that we see in Hollywood's Second World War movies. Several types of military uniforms are displayed on the wall. This is a Swift training rifle that was primarily used for training purposes. Look at this 1908 German Patron machine gun. That must be a powerful weapon in First World War. You can see several old tools lying in this open yard. Probably these tools were used for farming and cultivating the lands. Wow, look at the boat. This is a Ford Company ambulance whose number plates show that it remained operative till March 1969. These different types of carriages were used as a means of transportation in the 19th century. And this is the blacksmith shop who used to be a substitute for a mechanical engineer in old days. This information tells us that one of these carriages was engine driven. What a beautiful old classic car. It was owned by a rich couple who used to live on 8th line of Mooretown. And this is donated by Car Club of Canada. This is Burwell's Confectionery Groceries. You can see photos of some families from early settlers in Mooretown. Look at this full-fledged kitchen. This plaque tells us about Francis E. Shaw, an industrialist pioneer and a philanthropist of Mooretown, Lambton County. Here is the early dental clinic of Mooretown. What an achievement in those days. You can see a plethora of different machines used in an office in those days, typewriters and phones. Use of iron was part of the culture to press clothes before a formal meeting. This is the harness shop. To the trains is the signboard for the Lionel Model Train Room in this museum. Lionel began by making small electric motors to power electric trains. This room contains original Lionel traveling model layouts at 3 different scales, S, O, and G. Around the room, authentic Lionel signs and trains are displayed, as well as local railroad history items. This is the Basswood block built in 1800s as a hotel. Now it has 3 parts: harness shop, carpentry shop, and print shop. This is the carpentry shop, full of different tools used in those days. No town could survive without the familiar carpenter who made necessities for everyday living, as well as such decorative work as the exquisite moldings in homes. This is the harness shop that was an integral part of early life in Mooretown. In the early years, horses were used more for working than recreation, pulling everything from steam engines to plows. Harnesses will last for years but occasionally needed repairs. Thus the harness maker was in the business. This print shop was often located in the center of town. Any piece of world news, local information, or gossip was brought to the shop, edited, put on the press, and printed on newsprint to be distributed in the form of a newspaper. In the early days, this cost only about 3 cents or $1 per year. This building is a former Mooretown Railroad station that was donated by Dan and family. In 1886, the first railway was opened in Mooretown. Passengers boarded from a hotel porch until this station was built in 1893. The popularity of cars led to a decline in passengers' rail travel, so the station was closed. In 1988, it was donated to the museum. This room is full of accessories of railway system like the uniforms and lanterns. In fact, lanterns were also used as a signal to control and monitor movement of trains. This caboose is part of Canadian National Railway that was in use in the past. The caboose had many functions. It was an office for the conductor holding important paperwork. It also carried the brakeman and a flagman. Look at its interior. You can see the beds, crockery, and other accessories to facilitate railway staff on long journeys. Here is a dining table. Cabooses became obsolete in the late 1980s and now they rest in history and museums. This blacksmith shop have been in Mooretown since the first census in 1861. The blacksmith used 2 basic tools, the anvil and the forge. The blacksmith's work was essential, making not only tools for others, but the tools of his own trade as well. We feel as we have traveled back in history. This is Robert Mason Blacksmith Shop. Look at this furnace, a treasure of history and a nostalgic relic of the past. The Courtney cabin was built in 1874 by Michael Courtney II. Inside the cabin, you see what home was like as an early settler. The furniture is sturdy and square in its design. The simplicity of the furnishings reflects the pioneers' lives. where money was scarce and survival was the major concern. The spinning wheel in the cabin would have been used for spinning wool into yarn to then be made into clothing, blankets, etc. Upstairs are the sleeping quarters, typical of its time period. The upstairs is outfitted with several beds, all covered with warm homemade quilts. Look at my life partner. While sitting on this rocking chair, she is overjoyed. You can see several stoves and the heating system that were immersed in the harsh winters of Canada. This building is the Trinity Church that is now part of the Moor Museum. This church was built in 1919 on the same site as the preceding church that went to ashes after being struck by lightning. In the early 1980s, the declining size of the congregation led to the closing of Trinity Anglican Church. This schoolhouse depicts a typical one-room schoolhouse of the 1920s. Teaching was very strict, penmanship was precise, and good posture a must, with feet flat on the floor. Punishment could be anything from sweeping the floor to the severe leather strap. This is replica of a sketch that was made in school fair in 1889. Every year, groups of school children come to Moor Museum and attend a program that allows them to step back in time and experience life in a one-room schoolhouse. They use quills, inks, slates, and face the stern school mistress. These are the pictures of teachers who used to teach in the school in those days. Look at their faces, a typical strict demeanor of a teacher. The rear range light was built in 1890 in Corona, Ontario. The front and rear lights lined up to help ships navigate around Stag Island in the St. Clair River. In 1982, it was to be torn down, but it was moved to the museum to preserve it. Our Mooretown, Sarnia visit will continue in the next video, in which we will visit the famous St. Clair River in Mooretown and the Corona Lighthouse. Then we will visit the famous Germain Park in Sarnia and share interesting facts about saber jets of Royal Canadian Air Force. So please do subscribe and share our channel to become our partners in a series of beautiful journeys intended to explore the vast continent of North America, to discover its hidden gems and famous places.